presented by Scott Credit Union. Your St.
Fan report. I'm Guy, the Hawaii Blues fan. I got to say aloha and mahalo for joining us tonight. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, you know what? I'm a little excited. My voice is raised. I'm a little ready to go. A lot has happened in the Blues land in the last couple of days. Hey, let's bring in my co-host, Mr. Rob the Stag Stagenborg. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good. I'm a little down in the dumps, but we'll talk about that later. How you doing, buddy?
But you know what? Something happened this past weekend. You know what happened this past weekend?
We got the Boosh, Pavel Buchnevich.
We got the Boosh, and we also got 4 new players. There's only one person I know who knows Blues draft picks better than the draft picks themselves.
Lance Scott.
Nah, this person actually knows them better than Lance Scott. And I love Lance, right? So please, let's give a great big Hawaii Blues fan welcome to the one and only Gabe Foley.
Hello, guys. Happy to be
Gabe.
back. It's been too long.
You like the introduction, my friend?
Loved it. Always
Yeah,
love what you guys do here.
How you doing? Been a while since we've had a chance to see you, man.
I'm tired. The draft was the peak of my year, and now I'm shutting down, going into hibernation.
I got to ask a question. I from what I understand, and I might be off, and if I am, you tell me right away, and I'll pause things and stop or whatever, that you've left Frontline Sports or not. I forget who you were with, though.
Last Word on Sports, yes.
Last Word on Sports, that you've left them. And you're not doing drafts anymore after this one?
I am. I'm going to keep the draft content coming. The 22 NHL draft is absolutely loaded. So
yeah,
it
I know.
would be a sin to not cover that. It is going to be incredible. I did leave Last Word on Sports to actually focus more on draft content.
Okay.
Going to be putting a lot of my energy into that now, doing some freelance stuff on the side to keep me paid. But overall, yeah, tons of draft focus coming from me in these next few months.
Can I there's definitely a market for that. People are just dying. They can't get enough of it.
Yeah.
Well, I got a favor to ask then. What do you think about now? I mean, we're becoming pretty good friends, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think about doing some writing for the St. Louis Fan or for the Fan Report Media Group on draft as the months come up, on what you see, doing like a monthly column or something like that?
I mean, that is something I can keep in mind for sure. I would be down for it. Love your guys' site. Love the articles there. So I'd love to contribute to it. I am, like I said, the draft was the peak of my year.
Yeah. You got to take that little break, right?
Yeah, it is unwinding time this weekend. I'm going down to Oklahoma. So getting a little bit closer to you, Guy.
Yeah, well, actually, I'm getting closer to you.
Really?
On September 17th, I'm going to be in the Lou, August 17th, I'm going to be in the Lou for a month.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you're up. Are you still in Peoria?
Yep. So I'm close.
Okay.
By.
On September 28th or August 28th, we have a special event down in the Lou at Don Brown Chevrolet.
All right.
If you've got nothing going on that Saturday and you can drop down, we'd love to have you down there, man.
Sounds good. I will keep in touch with you. That does sound really interesting.
Yeah.
More after this.
Check it out.
Yeah, any excuse I have to get down to St. Louis,
Well, hey, you take it.
Are you associated with Bradley, or did you go to Bradley, or?
Yeah, I go to Bradley right now. I grew up here in Peoria, went to Bradley, and I think I'm stuck here.
That's a great school. It is. You guys do a great job. I just want to give that.
It's so much fun here. Yeah,
my daughter got recruited there. Actually,
I'm wearing a Bradley shirt right now. It's a tiny little logo, but it's funny you mentioned that.
Yeah,
my oldest got recruited there, and they had offered her a semi decent scholarship, but she didn't want to go to Peoria. She ended up going to University of San Francisco and costing me a fortune. But so Ryan Green asked, "What's a Speznas?" And I probably spelled it wrong. So I want to bring this up real quick. So when we signed Buchnevich, Doug Armstrong made a comment And to me, that comment has resonated. And the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. They signed Buchnevich. They bring him in, they make this qualifying offer. You now have Buchnevich, Barbashev, Tarasenko for your second line, and call that your Russian Special Forces or your Speznas. Right? I think that's how you say it.
I think it's that.
That's a stretch. I'm sorry.
Well, no, you know what? It's not a stretch.
Oh,
you know what? I've had a couple of Twitter conversations. That's not a stretch. It's not a stretch at all. Look, okay, you have your first line, and Gabe, I'm going to get your opinion on this. You have your first line of O'Reilly, Shen, and Baran, right? And then a second line of Barbashev, Tarasenko, and Buchnevich, with possibly Hoffman being able to switch with Buchnevich between a second and a third line. You could have three. If you re-up Hoffman, you could have three solid scoring lines.
Yeah.
Right? I think that they've decided that they're not going to get what they think Tarasenko's worth. So they're going to tell Tarasenko, you stay here, you play right, we'll move you then. But I'm sorry, we're not just giving you away. I think that Armstrong's doing that. And it feels like that to me. Tarasenko's going to start the season in a Blues jersey.
I hope so. I have heard from inside the walls of the Blues for months now about how strenuous the situation around Tarasenko has been. And then things went quiet. I heard one person texted me once and said, I think they might go after Buchnevich. And then they didn't text me. And a week later, we traded for him. And it shocked me.
Yeah.
And I haven't had any updates since.
Yeah.
So
the Buchnevich one was a shocker. But again,
if
and
we
I said this on a couple other people, I think it placates Tarasenko a bit. I really do. I think, but not only does it placate Tarasenko, it also placates the locker room. Bring somebody in to act as a barrier between Tarasenko and the locker room a bit, right? You have a scoring line now. I mean, Barbashev, you protected Barbashev. So you're telling Barbashev he's good enough to protect in a top 7 forward, and he's only one of 2 centers you protected. You just told him he's your second center. Right? I don't see Schwartz isn't coming back. I don't see Bozak coming back. Of our 3 free agents, the only one that I see possibly coming back, Hoffman. Right? And the reason I see Hoffman coming back is because other than Montreal and Toronto, you haven't heard any other word on him. And I think a lot of the word coming out of Montreal and Toronto is lip service. Right? Because they want every great player. They want every scorer. Mm-hmm. Right? But I don't think you're going to pay the money. I don't think they are. I'm really interested to see what happens. We got Jeff Wyman here. I bet the teams want to see who they can sign, in the free agents first. I give it a couple of weeks. No, Jeff, I don't. I think this was Tarasenko was a draft pickable trade. I don't think he's a player trade. I don't think that it's gotten to that point. I think that the players that guys want to give up for him, troubled players, the Blues don't want troubled players. They don't want. They're not going to give up one bad apple for another bad apple. That's why the Washington trade didn't go down. Right? Well, that's enough on that. Let's get into Gabe's specialty. Let's get into the draft. So the Blues have their first pick at number 17. Now, first of all, the draft went kind of crazy. There was a goalie. Well, first of all, it started crazy at position number 3. Right? Mm-hmm. They drop all the way down and take the 8th best prospect.
Yeah.
So at that point, you start seeing some guys not fall where you think. And then you have this goalie prospect, and his name escapes me. I didn't bring up Westfold, I think it is.
Wallstead. Jesper Wallstead.
Wallstead, right? I was close. Wallstead. Everyone thinks this guy is comparable to the Russian Yaroslav last year, right? everyone's thinking he's comparable to that. Yaroslav went at the number 10 spot, 10 or 11 spot.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody touches Wallstay.
Yeah.
Nobody touches him. He falls like down to number 20 where someone finally trades for him, right? That was a surprise. So then the Blues at number 17, they do something that I think is kind of off the wall. They drop down 5 spots to take the number 22 guy, and they selected, and I don't want to kill his name, and I probably will.
Zach Bulldog.
Zach Bolduck, right? A center winger. What can you tell us about him, Gabe?
Yeah, Zach Bolduck is a beefy boy. His weigh-in had him at 6'1", 180-ish, but I think he's grown a bit since then. I think he's around 6'2". Probably I'd put him around 185. Bolduck is a beefy guy that loves using his size to push through the defense. He's very, very talented in skating the puck into the zone, being aware of what's going on around him, and finding a way to create a play. If that play isn't, ready right away, he's got a strong, sturdy build that he can use to really set things up and find ways to create chances. It's a really potent talent, and it's one that obviously earned him a first-round pick, but it's one that's going to need some refining just as he moves into the professional game. Zach Bolduck is a guy that's going to need to work a little bit on his skating, just because he, with such big guys, they always do. He's going to need to work a little bit on just staying consistent and making sure he's always making those big plays instead of, fading away when the light's not on him, stuff like that. But overall, you look at Zach Bolduck, you look at him at 17, it's a good value pick. Were there better players available? Probably. But is it one that the Blues are going to regret in 5 years? No, not at all. Bolduck is a guy that if the Blues give him enough love and attention, he's looking like a top 6 right winger. He's looking like a guy that can score and produce real well at the NHL level. For a Blues team that's really keeping our fingers crossed to not lose Tarasenko and Schwartz and Hoffman and all these guys at wing, getting Bolduck and getting a player that you think can step up within a few years and serve a big role, that's huge. And that's exactly what they got at 17 on Friday.
Well, so I got a question for you. How long before? Well, I got a couple questions, so I'm trying to think of the best way to ask them because it's kind of a multi-level question. How long before this guy makes it to the NHL?
I'd give it 3 years.
Okay.
I do think he needs AHL experience. Like I said, this is a guy with a talent that's really impressive, but one that really needs refined. It's a talent that is in your face with defensemen, and obviously, jumping from juniors to pro, there's a noticeable skill gap, and the defensemen are quicker and bigger and stronger and smarter. It's such a big step up, and it's one that might take him a little bit to adjust to. And so I'd say 3 years, 3 or 4 years. But when he makes the NHL, he's not getting into the NHL as a bottom 6 guy. He's jumping into the NHL. He's getting in that top six role. Oh, I'm stuttering over my words. He's getting into that top 6 role right away. I do not want to compare him to Tarasenko because obviously Tarasenko was a dazzling prospect the minute he was picked, an amazing player, just, an immediate impact. I think he scored, 2 goals in his debut?
Yeah, on his first 2 shots.
Yeah, like just a legendary Blues pick immediately. Mm-hmm. A Bolduck is not guaranteed to be that. Yeah. But what we saw with Tarasenko and how he jumped into the NHL after a few years and just was ready to go, I kind of see that with Zach Bolduck. I think he's a prospect that can really make an impact if you really develop him right, really temper him right, get him ready. Once you unleash him into the NHL, it's going to be exciting stuff.
Okay, so here's my question: would he still have been available at 20 or 22?
Oh,
If
100%.
we, right? Yes, right.
I
So-
would have thought so.
So why not pick Wallstat, and then around that, as the draft's going, start offering him up to each team. Hey, would you like Wallstat? Hey, would you like Wallstat? Hey, no, I'm serious.
No, I
Because
mean, it's a good point. Yeah.
First of all, if you get stuck with Wallstat, that's not a bad thing.
No.
Okay, it's not, because we do need a backup, and he could be a backup in a year or two.
He could be a backup right now, honestly. He's that
Okay,
good.
well, see, so picking him at that 17 spot, meaning that you got a number 10 at 17, is a steal.
Mhm.
Or better yet, picking him up and has the drafts going, asking each team. I think you could have got, because he got traded at 20. I forget who it was that jumped up at 20 to get him.
Minnesota jumped up.
Minnesota. Okay, so think about Minnesota. So do you don't think that they may jump up to get him, and we get another first round pick?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a reasonable question to ask. And I think it stems from the fact that I don't think the Blues really plan to pick in the first round. This is a team, Doug Armstrong's phone has been blowing up this last month. He has the ringer on 24/7. He is listening to offers on Tarasenko, and he was, exploring talks about Vince Dunn. And the 17th overall pick was out there. It wasn't like the Blues were holding on to it with their dear life. Armstrong is being really creative and really flexible right now. And I think his goal was to acquire a guy like Buchnevich. And I think he didn't expect Buchnevich
Still have that first
to come at such a cheap price. I thought that first was going to be involved with whatever they use. And so I think after Buchnevich was acquired, I think the Blues were kind of caught off guard with picking first overall. Or not first, so in the first
17. Okay, but so you're in the war room, right?
Yeah.
I'm Armstrong. You're the director of scouting. How do you not? And I'm sorry, I have to be honest, right? How do you not say, let's take Wallstat, because we know he's dropping. Somebody's going to jump up and get him. Somebody's going to offer us another first round pick for Wallstat. I guarantee it. We're going to get somebody to give us their first round pick for Wallstat. Let's do it. I would have taken that in a heartbeat. I would have taken, let's say we could have gotten a first and a second, or a first and a third this year. We didn't have a second round pick.
No.
Right? So we could have picked up, I think we could have taken somebody's Wallstad for somebody's current first round pick and a second this year, somewhere in the middle, and done well. I really do think that we could have done that, and we could have turned this reach into a gold mine.
Yeah. I can't disagree. And
because you still could have picked, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to,
no,
but you still could have picked Zach. Wherever you're trading, you still could have picked him in the 2021. So you pick him, and then you get the guy you originally wanted, and you get a second round pick you didn't have.
Yeah, it's a lot of things falling into place with the Blues. I don't know if they even know what they're thinking. It's such a messy time for them.
Real quick, we wanted to talk about just a different prospect because on draft night we were really surprised that Gunther just kind of fell, and he was like, I think, number 3 or in the top 5. I think, sort of a prospect. So what goes on? What happens in that situation when a guy is so highly rated, just like drops like a rock like that? I don't know where he went. I think he went at 12 maybe, or
he ended up at 9. Arizona
9, okay.
used their pick for him.
But how do you explain that the guy drops, 6?
Yeah, it's something we saw a ton this year. To the point that I think the discrepancy between what the public saw and our end of things saw and what the private NHL sector saw, I don't think there's ever been a discrepancy so big. We saw first round talents fall to the 3rd and 4th round this year, and it's all just the NHL being nitpicky about stuff. The NHL is really, really for lack of a better word, anal about things like draft interviews and things like size and things like, how tall is your older brother? Because maybe you'll be as tall as him and stuff like that. And so you saw guys like Dylan Guenther, guys like Fabian Lysell fall way further than consensus had them. And it really is stuff like that. Guenther, I personally didn't hear anything about. I am not a Canadian guy. Of course, I watch the league, but I don't have the insider knowledge that I do with other leagues. They don't like me up there, I don't think. Mm-hmm. But Guenther, we saw fell. Fabian Lysell fell too. And it was because he fell all the way down to, I believe, 22. Wow. It was because NHL teams were rubbed the wrong way in the draft interviews. A guy with clear speed, clear skill, clearly, in some people's mind, a top 10 talent, fell all the way to 22 just because of a little thing that NHL teams kind of didn't like. And so, it's so messy draft season. And I go out of my way to talk to these prospects as much as I can because it's such a stressful time for them with so many little things weighing on them. And when you see stuff like that, that's the cause. It's kind of unfortunate, but it's how the NHL operates. They put so much stock into stuff like that.
Well, so in the first round, I mean, it bounced around, and we've seen a lot of that, but nothing was more polarizing than pick number 31. Montreal takes Logan Mollocks. For those who don't know, I don't know enough about the case to say anymore, but he was accused or has some type of sexual assault hanging over him, and he actually asked not to be drafted. What do you know about this, if you know anything at all there, Gabe?
Logan Mailloux charged with sexual misconduct in Sweden, distribution of illicit photos. He was fined for it and, didn't face jail time or anything, but it was a criminal charge, and it was something he was prosecuted on and punished with a fine. One that definitely caused uproar and is still causing uproar for obvious reasons. He was drafted. It's a weird situation because, like you said, he asked, hey, I'm not mature enough to be drafted yet. This is such a high honor. So please don't draft me. I'm withdrawing myself from the draft. And then Montreal goes out of their way to draft him with their first round pick, which is quite interesting because he really wasn't a first round talent. So tons of commentary there, reason for speculation and debate. Ultimately, you look at that situation, everything aside, this is an opportunity for a man who committed a heinous crime and one that has really impacted its victim, and something that he hasn't overtly, come out and been as sincere as he probably should have been after it became public. This is a chance for him to mature and grow. Hockey aside, a young man made a mistake that he needs to respond to, and his victim needs to be recognized for what she's been through and stuff. Ultimately, this is such a questionable decision by Montreal. I don't really know what's going through their head. I don't know if you guys saw today, they are also kicking the tires on Tony DeAngelo in free agency. So they're having themselves a week. I don't really know.
Mark Bergevin stated it was a hockey decision. That was his quote was. It's the hockey decision. I think this comes back to Montreal. No press is bad press, right? No, because I think that this is a team that so many people had stopped talking about. That now that they're talking about it, they're seeing some interest from free agents. So now that I have this interest from free agents, let's make sure that we're still getting talked, right? And prior to this year, prior to the run, free agents didn't want to go there. I mean, a lot of the Canadian guys The first 6 teams on there, 7 teams on their 10-team no trade list are all the Canadian team. So that's something to pay attention to, right? Before we get in, I want to get into this comment. Ryan Green asked, why did we get Buchnevich if he doesn't have a contract? Well, Buchnevich was a restricted free agent, and we sent him a qualifying offer. He has one of 2 choices. He can either accept it or he can go to arbitration, right? If he doesn't file for arbitration, that's his contract, and it's up to him when he signs it. If he doesn't sign it, he just doesn't play, but he loses the year. He loses a year of free agency because this year it doesn't count as a year of service. So he has to serve another year. So the contract doesn't go away.
Yeah, the Blues have exclusive negotiation rights with him right now.
Yeah. Right. So then we go down to no second round pick. Blues don't make a move. Get into the 3rd round, and at number 71, they decide to take a little leap. They leap 10 spots, give up their 3rd pick in this round, and I think the 5th pick in this round, and they end up getting and I just pulled it off, so you can tell them who they got, Gabe.
They drafted Simone Robertson out of Sweden. Simone Robertson, what I say about Zach Bolduck? I said he was a big-bodied winger. I'd say he liked using his size to push through the defense, and he likes creating offense. That's Simone Robertson, too. It's the exact same player. He's a right winger. He's a big, beefy guy, likes pushing through the defense. Both players have absolutely stellar shots. Simone Robertson's is a bit better in my eyes, but both of them are awesome and just wicked snipes. Yeah, the 2 are very similar players. Both may not be the greatest skaters, but they know how to use their body and their strength and a lot of poise with the puck on their stick to push into the offensive zone and create chances. Simone Robertson, you look at him, you look at how he plays, he's a little bit different from Zach Bolduck in that Zach Bolduck's a bit more in your face with how he uses his body. He's more of a power forward than a sniper, whereas Simone Robertson kind of leans into that sniper category. He likes to push at the defense, step back, get a shot off. He knows how to create space. He knows, what he's doing out there. And yeah, very similar player. He's a guy that a lot of people thought should go in the 1st round. He was a consensus, I believe, top 25 pick, and he fell to the Blues all the way in the 3rd round, which is absolutely incredible for the Blues. This is going to be a pick that makes Doug Armstrong look like a genius in a few years. It really is. I've had a lot of people ask me, why did he fall? If he's so good, why did he fall? And again, it goes back to those little things. Simone Robertson was a part of a Swedish national team that got obliterated at the World U18 Junior Championship. And he looked rough. This Swedish team was getting stomped on every game, and Robertson was at the brunt of it. He's a player that, when he's down, and he can make kind of weird shot selections and kind of crass, really rush decisions and stuff like that. And NHL teams saw that. They didn't like that, and they passed on him. But at the end of the day, he's 18 years old. I mean, I'm 21, and I still freak out when the pressure's on. This is a kid who's played in a men's league on a large scale and has really performed well. He lit up the Swedish U20 league this year and then played about 20 games in their men's league with limited minutes. They don't like playing 18-year-olds in that men's league. They are very much against it. But he's played at a high level. He knows how to create space, time, use the assets he has. And you asked me, how long will it take for Bolduck to get into the NHL? And I said about 3 or 4 years. I think Robertson's around the same scale, but probably more on the 3 end of things. And simply because he's more adaptable to that third line. Bolduck can play a top 6, rush at you, score a lot of points. Robertson is more capable in all 3 zones, kind of more of a two-way guy, could really settle down. I think he makes the NHL first and really serves as a good third-line winger and works his way up from there, kind of like we've seen with Zach Sanford. Zach Sanford started on the fourth line, moved up to the third, started scoring pretty well, got bumped up to the second. Then he became Berube's favorite player and got probably unnecessarily bumped up to the first line. But same thing with Robertson. He's going to be able to really work his way up from the bottom six and really start to make an impact. Robertson's a safer player. I have more confidence that he'll make the NHL one day. But Bolduck has the higher ceiling. If Bolduck hits, I think you could be our replacement for Tarasenko. Tons of potential there. And getting, you get two ends of the sword there. You get a safe player that will make it. And you get a high potential player that you can develop. And so those together, one of them's going to work out for you.
Well, so we gave up their fourth pick. And we get to the fifth pick, and this is the one that I find very intriguing. And the reason I find it intriguing is because we took two guys like this last year. But right? I see that smile. So at the fifth pick, we take Tyson Galloway, a 6'4", 214-pound defenseman.
Yep. And everything you're thinking is exactly what Tyson Galloway is. He's 6'4", he's 200 pounds. And that's how he plays hockey.
He's a beast, huh?
Yeah, he's quicker than you'd think. And I was speaking with Blues Fan Reacts, who knows a guy that played with Galloway. So there's a little bit of a connection there. And Blues Fan Reacts tells me, he's quicker than you'd think. He's a guy that can jump up into the rush and kind of get in your face. But at the end of the day, Tyson Galloway is a stay-at-home defenseman. He's a guy that long reach on that 6'2" big boy frame, knows how to play the body, knows how to keep the puck out of the slot. So, a safety pick, a safety defenseman in the fifth round. He's not a guy that's going to be our top pairing guy in the future, but he might be a third pairing guy that, gives us some confidence.
So, right? Okay. So I'm going to be the fly in the soup here. So, with all these draft boards and mock drafts and all that, is anybody ever right? And why should we believe people? It's like, come on, dude, you've been doing this, not you, but people do this 12 years in a row and they've never been right. It's like, okay, but it's so difficult because you don't know what teams are going to do. You don't know again, I agree with you. I think the Blues were looking for a deal up until the clock was ticking and they had to make a move. But I think they were really looking for a deal and expected to get a deal. But just, how it's so difficult to choose this. Why would you subject yourself to it? Because it's really difficult to be right. Yeah,
it is. This is my first year of jumping head first into a full class. I've worked around the USHL for since 2017. But I figured, let's go all out. Let's do something big. And so I actually ended up ranking a full 7 rounds this year. And I didn't realize how wrong I would be. I had sources around the NHL telling me, this is kind of our guy. This is the guy we're going with. And saying things like, oh, we're going to trade up for this pick so we can draft this guy and this and this and this. And this was coming from the teams themselves. And at the end of the day, I ended up getting 2 picks right. I got the Calgary Flames pick right, and I got the Blues pick right. And other than that,
you didn't get number 1 right?
How wrong I could be.
You didn't get number 1 right?
One right.
Oh, I got 1 right. Yeah. I got 1 and 2 right.
Yeah.
Okay. So those 2 count. Those were freebies.
Yeah. Well, Robert Morton. First of all, Rob calls me the Notre Dame of hockey, and I don't know if he's being facetious or not. There.
You talking about me or you?
Me.
Oh, okay.
Says, what's up? Sure. He goes, "What's up, Rob? What's up, Guy? Notre Dame of hockey."
Okay. All right.
So, and he says down here, he goes, I feel like hockey has more late emerging players than any other sport. I'd say hockey and baseball. I say you see a lot in baseball. You see a lot of 26, 27. You do see mid-20 rookies in baseball.
Yeah.
where you don't see it in hockey as much. In hockey, a late arriving kid is a 22-year-old, right? You know, that's kind of what you think of, a late 23 at the most. So, but in baseball, I mean, you see a lot of rookie. You see guys, you know, come in at 18, maybe go to college for a couple of years, get redrafted, you know, at 2021, spend another couple of years. So you see the 24-year-olds come in as rookies. So I agree with that. Basketball and football, man, they use them up as soon as they get a hold of them. Immediately, right? Well, then we skip number 6 and we go to number 7. And number 7's another interesting pick in my eyes. This is I guess this is a guy that wasn't even on anybody's boards.
No.
He was talked about a little bit. But I think this I know what I think about this one, so I'll let you go there here in a second. With the number 198th pick, Ivan Vorobov.
Yeah, Vorobov. That's a pick.
Say again?
It's an interesting pick, to say the least. I was definitely surprised by it.
Right. What I think this is another Tarasenko pick. Right?
Yeah.
The more I sit and I look at this, the more, you know, I go, okay, what are we seeing by what we thought we would saw? Right. And I know you're doing that. You got to be doing that, Gabe, because we talked about things like this in the past. Armstrong, look, I don't know the guy. I just, you know what I see of him. I know what is, you know, he's a very reserved, he keeps things to the chest, to the vest, to a point. But I think this Tarasenko thing really surprised him. And he's now decided that I'm not going to get enough for Tarasenko until we see him on the ice. So in order to get the best out of him on the ice, I'm going to show him. I'm going to take this chance and say, okay, I'm going to bring in Bushnevis. Here's a guy that you can work with. I'm going to draft this young Russian. Here's another guy that you can work with. So I'm going to give you some of the stuff that you need to take away some of this angst. But at the same time, I need you to go out there and perform so we can do a situation that works for both of us. I do see him being traded somewhere in the season if that shoulder works out right. I just think right now no one wants to pay a Vladimir Tarasenko price for Vladimir Tarasenko.
Exactly. They would have done it already.
Right, yeah. You know, and I'm sorry, Vladimir Tarasenko is and I won't call him a superstar, but he is a star.
Yeah.
And I said this, I've been saying this for a while. He has the absolute potential to score 30 goals. If he's going to score 30 goals next season, I want him scoring them for us, not somebody else. And I said that for a while. And I think that's what the Blues are starting to see. I bet you they've watched some of his workouts, some of his medical stuff. Right. And now we had Reed Lowe on, and Reed Lowe threw him under the bus. Absolutely threw him under the bus. And that's fine. That's what Reed played in the game. He has every right to do that. But I disagreed with Reed when it came to the medical records, the medical staff. Right. He trusted the Blues medical staff, and, it turned out not to be right. And he's not the first one. He's not the first one. And I know you've talked about this with some other groups. Mm-hmm. Now when you're on, I knew you were on Toasted yesterday.
Yeah.
But I knew you were coming on today. So I didn't watch Toasted. And the reason I didn't is because if you answer a question there that I wanted to ask, I go, oh, the question's been asked. Why would I answer it? But I don't know if my people listen to it. So I want to make sure that I don't, put an answer in my head that's not really there.
Yeah.
So I mean, does that make a little bit of sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
All right. So that's why I'm asking this. So with all of this, with this draft, with what we've seen in restricted free agency, and then today, the qualifying offers, they all make sense. And then the one that I think makes the most sense, and I'm a little biased here, is the 2-year, 2-way deal to Walker.
Mm-hmm.
I think that right there is a linchpin. I think Walker on the fourth line, third line center, moving around fourth, third line center. He brings speed. He's got a little toughness. He's got that Australian, you hit me. He's a rugby player, basically, in my eyes. He's got some of that. I just kind of see right now that signing could be a lot bigger than what we're seeing. And then we signed another defenseman that we had in our system, Stevens, I think it was, to a two-way deal. So a two-way deal means that they get one price in minor leagues and another price when they play in the major leagues or in the NHL. So that's what a two-way deal is. A one-way deal, you get the same paycheck whether you're up or down. So, but you don't see a lot of one-way deals anymore. The guys that get the one-way deals are the first-round picks, right? Usually, if they come up in the first year, they'll get a one-way deal. Usually, Walker has to be more consistent. Well, Walker needs to play more to be more consistent, and I think that's the issue. I think if he gets to more playing time, and I think he will this season, I really do. I think that he's the linchpin in this.
Hey, Gabe, who are some of the teams you think won the draft? Like who did well? Like who did you grade out as winning the draft?
Well, the four are Columbus, Dallas, in no particular order, are Columbus, Dallas, Anaheim, and I'd say Minnesota. You saw Dallas and Anaheim. Like I said earlier, this draft had first-round guys just absolutely the rug pulled out from under them. They tanked, and the two teams that picked them up were Dallas and Anaheim. They had so many steals.
They were going for talent.
They were
best
going
available,
and they got it. Oh my goodness! I can't believe the pools that Dallas fixed up their prospect pool with one draft. Quite frankly, they had a horrible looking prospect pool. It's looking mighty decent now. I'd say average. It's not like they're amazing, but a lot there. And then Columbus and New York Islanders, two teams that again drafted for talent, but they also got guys that just kind of fit in, guys that just make sense. Columbus got, just one example. They spent one of their first rounds on Corson Ceulemans. Corson Ceulemans is the messiest player I've ever seen. He's a total wreck, and he played in a junior B league, and just wasn't really the flashiest prospect for me. But Columbus has a history of getting those guys that are kind of messy and refining them and turning them into top end great talents. And New York Islanders got Atu Ratu, who is a messy guy, who is a consensus top 3 pick at the beginning of the year, and got drafted in the second round on Saturday. And it's that same thing. He's messy, but he's a shooter, and he can score on you. And New York Islanders have a history of getting those shooters, getting those scorers, and putting them into the perfect situation that they could only fit into on their one team. So yeah, Columbus, Islanders, Dallas, Anaheim. Luckily, only one of those is a central team, so we won't have to worry too much about them. Yeah. But those are the 4 teams. And I don't think the Blues graded out bad either. In my coverage for St. Louis Game Time, stlouisgametime.com for any of the viewers, I gave the Blues an A- for the draft. I think they did all right.
You did better than me. I thought they were a B+, B-.
See,
to be honest,
a lot of readers gave them a B+ and B- as well. That's
the reason I gave them the B- was the having 5 picks going to 4, and then missing in the first round by not taking the goalie and trading him down a few spots to pick up the guy you wanted anyways and another pick. So real quick, Brad Pond, if you want the best way to get a schedule, I showed the link up earlier. You go to NHL.com under teams and click Blues. They have schedule. You can go download our schedules from Speznas there. And the other thing I wanted to say is Columbus, welcome Wendy, won the draft before the draft even started.
Oh, yeah.
They won the draft before the draft even started. and that's they were gushing on Seth Jones and his brother today on the NHL Network, and I'm looking at it just going, Chicago's gonna suck for a few more years. Sorry, Wendy.
Yeah. Don't ever laugh like that again, please.
A little Smedley laugh.
My kids are scared.
Well, your kids have to look at you every day, so that doesn't surprise me.
Hey, guilty as charged, man. But,
no. So, go ahead, Rob.
I was gonna say who blew it. Like, who are teams that had it there for the taking? I know the whole situation with the goalies, and who are teams you felt like just like, what are you doing?
Well,
can I answer this a little bit, Gabe?
Yeah, go ahead.
First one is Montreal. Absolutely, and that pick made no. I mean, I get it. I understood what they were trying to do. It backfired. Montreal absolutely blew it, and I think Chicago blew it. I think Chicago had opportunities and let some trades go. And then one other team that I think some people liked, but I didn't like their draft in some ways, was Minnesota. I know you put them as a possible winner, but I thought Minnesota took a few reaches and actually put too many players in their system that they're going to have guys that can't develop.
Yeah,
because there's no room for them.
Yeah,
right. So those are my three, and I'm sorry for jumping, but I want to know what with yours and what you think of what I just said.
Yeah, well, first off, on Minnesota, real quick, totally see where you're coming from there. They kind of stole away three defensemen in Lambos, Pert, and Kyle Masters. Three guys that each in their own tiers. Like Lambos is great, Pert might be great, and Masters is a project that you can work on, but maybe he ends up good. But getting those three guys for Minnesota is kind of the saving grace for me. They're all three going to play in the NHL. I have no doubt in my mind. Those are three NHL talents. And so the rest of their picks are kind of a wash to me. Obviously, they got Wallstedt. So, yay, goalies. But the Caden Bankier, Josh Pilar, Nate Benoit, those are just kind of, you're completely right. Those are guys that are going to get stuck. So I totally see where you're coming from. I think that they hit on the picks that worked and that were good, were really, really good. And then, they just kind of wasted three picks, I think. So totally see where you're coming out with dropping Minnesota there. I'd agree. Chicago definitely had a crappy draft. Chicago, I was talking with a scout that's been doing this for decades. And after Chicago drafted Nolan Allen in the first round, Nolan Allen, a guy that I think was in my fifth round, and he went in the first. So, yay, Chicago. He has no upside. He is what he is, and he is it right now. He's going to be a third-pairing defenseman in the NHL. Don't think he'll be much more than that. He's a shutdown, big-body guy. And I texted a scout that I know, and I said, what was that? That was bad. And he said, you got to understand this is a copycat league. Montreal just made the finals with Edmondson and Sherratt and those big, bulky, look awkward out there, but somehow they make it work defensemen. And so you saw Chicago go all in on those guys. Nolan Allen, 6'7", Tage Harding, who wasn't even ranked anywhere. I mean, just a prospect that no one knew anything about. A 6'7", which is not the size of a hockey player. Guys like that, Chicago just went, all out, full throttle, trying to get this one really specific kind of player. And I think they kind of butchered it as a result. I do have to say, Connor Kelly, the 6th round pick by the Blackhawks, I know him personally. I've done articles about him. Awesome kid. I do think he has potential to be an NHLer one day. I think he could even be a second pair guy one day. So that might be a win. Colton Dock, brother Kirby Dock, they drafted him out of nepotism. But, I mean, at the end of the day, great talent there as well. Another really good player there. So they did have a couple of picks that worked, but overall, just a weird draft for Chicago. They were going going for something that they shouldn't have been going for.
What I thought this was going to happen, and it didn't. I really did think. I thought there was going to be a team that was going to trade away every pick and just pile them up for the next draft. Because this draft was such a big question mark. Why take that chance? Why take that chance? And then you see, like you said, you had a guy taken in the first round or second round. It was a fifth round, a guy that wasn't even on the thing taken in the third or second round. So there's way too many
it was a weird
issues. Yeah, there was way too many things. If I was a GM, if I didn't have a guy that was scouted to my satisfaction, I would have just said these picks, let's stockpile, either A, get picks for next year, or B, bring in players that we know or prospects that we know we can do something with now. The minor league guys have been scouted enough, and that's kind of where I think I would have gone, but they didn't. I'll tell you, there was one other team that I thought won that nobody's talking about. Seattle. I think Seattle had a smart draft. I think Seattle didn't listen to what I think that they had a draft where they said these are the players that we want, and that's it, and that's the players that they got. I don't think that they had to do a lot of shifting. I don't think that they they went young, and they're either going to do one or two things. They're going to say, we're not going to try and win this year. We're going to do the 3 to 5 year plan. Or they're going to take all this young talent they got and bring in a couple of veterans here through trade and free agency and go for it now. But I don't think they are. I think that they're in the long haul for the 3 to 4 year plan. And I actually think that's a smarter decision than where the Knights are.
Yeah. Okay.
And the reason I say that, and Gabe, I think you and me talked about this once before. The reason I say that is because right now, Knights fans don't know what it is to suck. And as soon as they get to that point, and they're there, they might get one more up year, and then they're dropping down like a rock, right? When they get to that point, that stadium, which was sold out, had, all those, tickets, those were 5 year, 4 year, 5 year. Well, that's gone now. You start sucking now, that's where all that shit goes away, right? All that the people buying for 3-5 years, that's all gone now. Now you've got empty seats that you can't fill unless it's the other team. Seattle, on the other hand, is going, okay, we have a 3-year golden ticket, 3 to 5 year golden ticket. We can build up in that 3 years to where when our 3-year guys are getting ready to drop, we're starting to win, they stick around. And at the 5-year mark, now we're a playoff team. We're a team. These guys renew, and we can build from there. I think that I really think that Seattle did the right stuff, and Vegas could be looking for a really, really, really rough time ahead.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And like you said, Seattle's draft really echoes that. First off, they were ballsy with their draft. They were confident and bold, and it was intimidating. Their second round pick, Riker Evans, was a re-entry player who was not above, fourth round on consensus, but he's got potential. And so they said, screw it. We like him. We got a pick. Let's do it. And man, it might just pay out for him. Their whole draft strategy was really based around finding those needles in the haystack, those guys that they can develop and can be impactful in 4 or 5 years. And so I think you highlighting their draft to kind of hammer that sentiment home, I think it definitely has value. Yeah.
Wow, I'm not as stupid as everyone thinks I am.
Well, that's on this subject now. Come on.
Okay.
There's a lot of subjects out there.
Yeah, okay. I got it. Real
quick, I will let you know that we are coming up on an hour. I just want
we got about 10 minutes left. Go ahead, Rob. What have you got going on, or you done that you want to talk about?
Well, no, again, first of all, Gabe, I appreciate all the work and just everything that goes into it, because I do some work for the hockey writers, and everybody on the staff there has their own mock drafts, and people just bring it to an incredible level. It's just really interesting. So it takes a lot of time and effort to know the teams, know the players, know the programs. So my hat's off to you. I get it. It's a lot of research. That. And again, come draft day, you could look like the smartest guy in the world, or maybe not, but it's a big roll of the dice. But you guys do a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do.
Well, I got to ask. Well, I'm going to ask this question, and I don't mean to dime you out, and you can renege it later if you have to. Do you know any of the Blues draft picks? Do you have any connection with them?
I do. I'm trying to think. I don't think I do. I'll dig for it a bit, but I am. So I'm a U.S. based scout. I've worked around the the USHL since 2017. Gotten really intimate with GMs there, the NTDP, really loving what has come around that league recently. That, I have very narrow branches out. Yeah. And one of those branches is I know a ton of people in Sweden around like 2 or 3 teams. Yeah. And so I'll dig and see if I can't get anything.
Well, not only that, let's see. Well, the overall point of my question was, what do you think about trying to get some of these younger guys, either guys drafted last year or in the last couple of years, coming on the show and talking to us and becoming friends with us? Doesn't matter if they're with the Blues or not, but I want to get these guys' thoughts and processes and things like that. And we talked about winners. The other winner was USA Hockey.
Yeah, big time.
USA Hockey was an absolute winner. There was no ands, ifs, or buts about it. In fact, every Canadian team but one took a U.S. player in the first round.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, I think the only one that did was Montreal. I could be wrong. But I know a lot of them were taking U.S. players.
Yeah, there's a ton of talent in America this year, and to the point that there are American players that didn't even get drafted that should have been. Yeah. And so there's just it's come to a point. I'm serious, and I need to make sure this hits home. It is the general thought in the scouting world, at least in North America, that USA could really take Canada over as the world's premier hockey country. You saw all the talent this year, gets better next year. Then the year after that, it gets better. Then the year after that, it gets better. Then the year after that, all the top guys are Canadian, but they're all coming down to America to play right now. All the 2007s are going to play in Minnesota. So USA Hockey, big winner, and they're going to keep on winning. I am stoked for it. Cannot wait.
Well, so one last question before we wrap this all up. Not only that, let's look at Austin Matthews. Does Austin Matthews, who I think is the cover boy for USA Hockey, right? Even though he really didn't play in USA Hockey because he went over and played his juniors in the Sweden Men League, which was a really smart thing for him, being a Phoenix boy, because that was something that was held against him, the fact that he was born in Phoenix. No, it was actually, I mean, I've seen that numerous times in his draft, born in Phoenix, negative, born in Phoenix. That was, I mean, it makes no sense. Hockey is hockey. If you learn how to play, you learn how to play. Right. So him going to Sweden helped, but with him being in Toronto, let's say that he does help Toronto get past the second round, or he goes and becomes a 60 or a 70 goal scorer, which I think he can be. Yeah.
100%.
What doesn't that really take U.S. Hockey? I mean, he puts it on his shoulders, doesn't he? Especially with the Olympics coming up.
I mean, you look at Austin Matthews, you see a more advertisable Patrick Kane. You know, all this. Patrick Kane was USA Hockey for a decade, and now he's not so great, and USA Hockey teetered a bit. We really saw stuff in America kind of take a slump, and it is back up. It is booming again. Austin Matthews is a 50-point goals or a 50 goal scorer, and like you said, I mean, he's taken the reins from Patrick Kane. He is the new face of USA Hockey, and I think he's a bit more a bit better image than Patrick Kane. Just more advertisable, more relatable. He's best friends with Justin Bieber, so that's
there you go. I knew the Bieber was coming. I knew you were going to.
But it's just right now he's got that. I mean, he's up there in the fishbowl.
Yeah,
and he's performed. See, that was the knock on U.S. players. They couldn't perform in the fishbowl, right? They couldn't perform in Toronto. They couldn't perform in Montreal. They couldn't perform in Edmonton in the fishbowls. Mm-hmm. Well, here's Austin Matthews in the fishbowl, and not only is he performing, he's performing in the pulp world, where he's a good looking kid. He's not out there at the strip clubs, but he's at the dance club, and he's getting his picture taken by the paparazzi, but he's not getting his picture taken by the cell phones. Mm-hmm. So he's that guy that's doing the right things, right? When they bring out their cell phones, some star is doing something stupid. When the paparazzi's there, we're good to go. So that's kind of the way I look at it. So, hey, Gabe, we're just about done. August 28th, I hope you can make it down, man, to Don Brown, 11 to 3. We would love to see you. Let you meet some people, sign some autographs, let them know who you are, let them, and we love having you on, man. It's been too long, yeah. I know, like I said, we've talked about this a little bit. You and me had a little rocky relationship for a bit, but now that is under the bus, or under the rug, this relationship, yeah.
Under the bus. He threw me under the bus, and so that's why now we're under it. And no, I know.
Hey, somebody else got thrown under the bus too, but we won't talk about that. But no, and you know where I'm going with that, man. We just got a great relationship. As soon as I ask you to come on, absolutely, you're ready to come on. So I appreciate it, and we can't wait to see you again, Gabe.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it so much. Always such a pleasure being on with you guys.
Okay. Well, tomorrow is St. Louis Fan Report Day. We are going to talk about the Fan Report and all the upcoming events and all the things that we got going on.
I got a question for Gabe real quick. So you said you're a senior at Bradley right now?
Yeah.
Do you happen to know a young man named Connor McEntee?
I'm sure I am awful with names.
He's like in the student government and all that. He's a St. Louis boy, and just
I'm sure I've shared a brew with him or two.
Yeah, he's a good guy, but he loves Bradley and is a great representative for you guys.
Good deal. I appreciate that. It's a great school up here for sure.
Yeah.
Well, good. Everybody, we'll talk tomorrow. Tomorrow's gonna be fun. You need to get all your friends in. We're gonna talk a lot about this Haley event. Just got something else really neat. Found out today. We're gonna have some service dogs.
Ooh, cool.
Yeah, we're going to have some service dogs, and we might even have some health screening there. Got to talk to Rob a little bit more about that. And I just can't wait to talk more about it. Trying to release an article tonight or two. Depends on how much time I have with some other things going on. Just know this week is the last week of the Fan Report. Thursday's the last show until possibly September 16th, where I'm trying to do a very, very special show, Philadelphia. I'm going to see if people get what that means. I'm going to try and do a really special show, Philadelphia.
I know.
So, guys, this is Guy, the Hawaii Blues fan, for Rob, the Stagenborg, and our buddy and pal, Gabriel Foley at NHL Foley. If you want to know about the kids coming up, he's the guy to talk to. He's the one playing with the kids. We love each and every one of you. Aloha, mahalo, and Gloria.